Secretary Benson, are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. So now we'll bring to the stage Secretary Benson, who will be facilitating a conversation with Mr. Gary Anderson and myself. Welcome.
Thank you, Gary, for being here. Would you be care to join me on stage? And really excited for this conversation today. There's a microphone for both of you. And thank you all for being here. It's really extraordinary to see so many folks here today on my last Black History Month celebration as Secretary of State. And it's been such an honor working with all of you over the last almost 8 years now, 7.5 years. And as always, when I see all of you, either in spaces like this or throughout the state, I'm filled with an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the work that you do every day, quietly, without spotlight, and without fear or favor, simply just making sure government's showing up for the people of the state. Whether they live in the northernmost corner of the Upper Peninsula or the southernmost corner of Southwest Michigan or Southeast Michigan. You all make government work for people in a very real way, in a very necessary way. So thank you for devoting your lives to serving the people of Michigan through this department. It means the world to me, to the people you serve, the 10.5 million residents of our state, and remain exceptionally grateful to every single one of you for showing up every day to do the right work, service-driven work for the people of our state, and transforming this department so that it is the poster child of government efficiency and well-run services, and truly making sure at a time where, let's face it, we're going to talk a little bit about this, it sometimes feels like government's showing up when we don't want it, not when we actually need it. You all show up when people actually need us and need you. So thank you for doing that, and I hope you find tremendous power and honor in that work, because I'm certainly grateful for it every day. So with that, I want to begin this conversation with both Dr. Monique James and Dr. James. Thank you for being a part of this department for so many years, especially as Tina mentioned, at a time where the national narrative oftentimes is not valuing the benefits, not just of diversity and perspectives, and truly ensuring that we have a department, a government, various agencies that represent the people of Michigan in all its both diversity and demographics, but also making sure that people are heard, people are valued, and that we are together working to create a department that reflects what's best about all of us. So I was wondering if you could maybe start, and then Gary, I'll turn it over to you. Really, talk to you as well. I believe strongly in the power of the arts to tell stories, to bring people together, which we desperately need in this moment. And as we get into that conversation, Dr. James, I wonder if you could just talk about what it's been like, both working in the department, but also in this moment where so many powerful forces are trying to erase history, are trying to make us feel small, or like voices don't matter, when we know the true power of service lies in celebrating our diversity and uplifting each other's respective voices.
Yes, and so thank you for the question. And you know, when I think about what motivates me to show up and to do the work that is so important, the equity, inclusion, accessibility, belonging, diversity work, it really comes down to core values. And you know, when I say core values, is, you know, many of you have heard that we've talked about through CommonUnity, is RSVP. People want to be respected and deserve to be respected. People want to be seen and deserve to be seen. People want to be valued and they deserve to be valued. And people want their perspective heard, and they deserve to lift their voices. And so when I think about just where we are right now with the equity, the attack, really, the undermining, the attempts to eliminate history and banning books and education, we're really at a point where the urgency is now. You know, what was once implicit bias, implicit actions and words and behaviors are now explicit. And so it's time to, you know, return back to the fundamentals of where all humankind do both. And that's what gives me passion in this work for justice and equity.
That's so powerful. Thank you, Dr. James. And I think that power, especially at a time when, I mean, really what's the goal here of those who are trying to erase history, trying to make us forget the incredible sacrifices people have made, marching and fighting and bleeding, dying, just to ensure our Constitution lives up to its founding principles of equality and justice for all. And in some ways, trying to erase that or stop people from teaching it or talking about it, it also feels like it's designed to make us feel not just small, or like our voices don't matter, but to forget the power that we find when we speak up.
Yes.
And work together. And what I love and believe in so much about the arts is that even at a time where political winds are trying to silence or take away voices, the arts can always uplift and bring people together in powerful ways. And I want to hear Mr. Anderson about Plowshares Theatre Company and the work that you've done as Michigan's only professional Black ear to tell these stories and the opportunities there.
Well, one of the reasons why this is such a special year is because it's the 100th anniversary of the cultural activist and scholar W.B. Du Bois writing a treatise that encouraged artists across the entire nation to develop Black theaters that were for, by, about, and near African American communities. And he did it in the same way that Carter G. Woodson started Negro History Week. And also Arturo Schomburg had cultivated his collection of writings. They were all focused on celebrating the achievements, but also documenting the history of African Americans in this country. You got to understand, all three of those men were born in the latter part of the 19th century. And all three of them were told that African Americans had no history of any worth. And so they actually devoted themselves, their entire careers, to correcting that assumption. 1926 is really important because it's following the 1915 immersion of the film Birth of a Nation, which is a myth that perpetuated the assumption that the South was the agreed partner in the Civil War, and that it created the resurgence of the Ku Klux Klan in this nation. A man was inspired by that film. He went to Stone Mountain. They had a ceremony where the first burning of a cross, and he had the Bible, and he connected the achievement, the desire for racial oppression by whites in this country to his religious beliefs. That's the reason why you see even today, in many cases, you have white Christian nationalists re-emerging and pushing those same ideas. We have a real crisis of consciousness of the nation. It's not just in our social activity or history of erasure. There are ways in which many people of faith are actually distorting the concepts of what Jesus came to preach on, and using that to support their ideas. Poverty is seen as a moral failing, as opposed to a failing of our society to make a way for the needy. Education is a commodity now, when in actuality it should have never been. You gotta understand, the first concepts of teaching were connected to the study of humanity. That's where the arts sit. And that's the reason why we do it, because we want to know more about who and what we are, the values that Dr. James brought up. Those things are important for us to understand how we deal with this. We are living in a country where our Supreme Court has made us understand that a corporation is a person, and yet they use things like racial profiling, discrimination in other ways, to dehumanize us based on ethnicity, based on identity, based on gender.
How, as you have built this theater company, to tell these stories and to address a lot of these issues and to revitalizing history, what has that path been like as you see both the work you're doing reaching people, but also people resisting it as well?
Well, it's been a 36-year journey, so it's been kind of interesting. We have found ways in which we can, like I was saying earlier, talk about how African Americans have helped shape the culture that we live in very fundamental ways that help bring that kind of awareness to all people. Right now, for the last 2 years, we've been developing a new play about Roberto Clemente, the Afro-Puerto Rican baseball player. Now, I live in a city with the American League, right? So why am I focused on a National League player?
I'm from Pittsburgh originally.
Roberto Clemente was the first Latin player who identified both his Latin and African heritage. He was a member of the Civil Rights Movement. He advocated for both Latin and Black players in baseball. And that was a remarkable achievement at that time, because even to today, and there are a number of Latin players who have African ancestry who don't acknowledge it. And so what we want to do is elevate him and elevate the whole concept of connecting a struggle that is shared by in many African as well as Latin people. And I think that's the importance of the theater. The theater is, in many ways, not only there to hold up a mirror to society, but also help us deal with some of the most challenging social issues that we're struggling with. And so anyway, that's what we're doing.
Do you find, in terms of reaching and teaching people about those struggles, about those social issues, how is the arts an effective way to help people see outside their own perspectives, people who don't share that history, people who are white, people who don't see their privilege? How has the arts been able to break through presumptions, perhaps, that people may have?
I'm going to break a myth right now. A good portion of my audience is white. What we do is help people, in many ways, see a subject without a personal investment in it. For example, you could hold a very staunch belief about other people, and yet if you're told a story, or you hear a song, or you're exposed to a play that helps you focus on the humanity of that other individual, regardless of the differences that you share, that you don't share, we can get to the essence. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're all trying to remember that we are all human, right? I mean, we may have different ways of living that life, but we are all human. And that's the point. So that's part of what we're doing with the work.
What's so beautiful, and there are a few things like the artists that help us see our common humanity,
Yes,
and
exactly.
see each other and find that connection, especially in a moment like this where technology can oftentimes create more of a solitude, I guess, to put it nicely. And arts, in live theater in particular, one of the last remaining spaces and actually bring people together. I would argue sports potentially also, which is why the Clemente piece, I think, is such an incredible thing to follow. And Dr. James, I'm curious in your thoughts on that too, as you work to reach and build diverse environments both here at MDOS and throughout your whole career. What have you found to be effective ways to help people see each other as well and achieve that RSVP we were talking about as well?
And that really focuses on inclusion and belonging. So creating spaces where people experience inclusion and belonging. And so our MDOS CommonUnity events are focused on the awareness and education in ways that people may not come to experience it. And so, like today, there are things that I'm sure each and every one of us will walk out of here with one thing that we didn't know, and that helps to make our life experience richer. And so focusing on that inclusion and belonging. And, one of the things that I would like to see, for MDOS, in addition to CommonUnity, is creating employee resource groups. We have 2 employee resource groups, one for caregivers, that's led by John Harris, and one for LGBTQ+, that's led by Sean Starkey. But there's opportunity for us to come together as part of the MDOS community and support one another. So that's something that, in the next year, that we really would like to see more happen. So that inclusion and belonging, so that people do feel respected, seen, valued, and their perspective heard.
And, okay, do you want to add anything?
No.
And on that front, I think, in thinking of what folks here can do, even in this environment, to try to be a part of ensuring perspectives are heard, respect is given, and people are valued. What are things that all of us can take away? And ask you both this question. What are some 2 or 3 things that everyone here can do or add to their own life to increase and remind ourselves of the value of perspective taking, respect, valuing, and all the rest, so that we can live and enrich our own lives as well as those around us?
And so I would say, one, stepping outside of our comfort zone. We have a tendency, right, to socialize, to congregate around those who look like us and who have shared experiences, right? And so stepping outside of our comfort zone, taking the time to ask someone, what is important to you? What are the things that you value in your life experiences and exposure? So making the effort, if you will, to connect with others. And then I would say to read, right? Like to take time to read for understanding, to really read for awareness, to educate ourselves. So through conversation, through reading, through podcasts, we have so much access to information. We certainly have access to misinformation, right? But we also have access to the truth. And, so challenging ourselves to make the connections, to engage, and to connect with one another.
I guess from my take, I would hope that people would have an open mind to understand that all wisdom doesn't reside in one culture.
Yes.
The myth that we presented, specifically as a male, that when you assume that all men are the only ones who know how to do something and do it effectively. I'm not feathering my bed, but we're lucky to have leadership in this state, which is all female. But that's a byproduct of actually the fact that we had affirmative action, which provided opportunities in many cases for more white women than any other demographic, in regards to benefit. And that's okay, because the idea of those rights, the pushing those programs, was never about exclusively giving rights to one ethnic group. That's the beauty of when we understand that gifts can come from more than one direction, is that you realize that you could be a student and learn from people regardless of whether they share anything in similarity with you. You have to be open and honest about the fact that you're actually hearing something that relates.
What is your, on both of those things that both of you just touched on, really requires folks to get out of their comfort zone as well, right? So what's your advice on how to do that, even internally, as we in this moment try to find each other, trying to find that space, try to model that life as well, when there are other forces designed to perhaps create backlash for doing that? for.
And so I'm going to paraphrase something from Dr. King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., where he talks about love and light can conquer hate and darkness. And so as we, as we think about just how we engage, to see and to honor the dignity and worth of every person, not just some people, not just people who are, meet certain demographics or certain characteristics, but the dignity and worth of each and every one of us. And so if we're able to see through that lens of love, of light, of equity, of inclusion, then we give ourselves permission to be the change that we wish to see. So that's what I would recommend. Say hi to people. Reach out, reach out, right? Say hi, call people, connect. I think sometimes what we're missing is connection and standing behind assumptions, seeking to understand before we're understood. So all of those principles might seem difficult, but one action at a time can really lead to collective change.
I love that because it also inspires others to change as well. So one act of courage inspires others just by your own actions to replicate, and that's how we build the wave of change.
Yeah, I guess to follow up on that, so we have we can enjoy dishes from several different ethnic groups, right? Perfect example is Korean barbecue, right? You ever know the origin of Korean barbecue? Because it's not that very long. It's actually influenced by Black soldiers that were in Korea during the 50s. And they brought a technique that was then adopted by Korean community to create the barbecue type of chicken that they did. Same thing when you look at K-pop music. Those are young Korean students who are looking at Black culture and emulating it. Now, if we can do that, if we can find a cuisine, we can create a cuisine that all of a sudden comes back to us, right? That came from us, right? If we can find ways of influencing people from another part of the planet, we could surely do that here. I think but just like you said, we have to understand that not everybody has, one culture doesn't have the market doesn't close the market on regards to what is perfect or what can be influenced. Like earlier before you came in, I was talking about improv coming out of jazz, which was an art form created by Black people in this country, and it was influenced by the connection to our culture. I mean, the New Orleans culture. The fact that we have improv has created whole paths of music traditions. You can't have somebody do a rap album without it not coming out in some way, shape, or form, some way different. I mean, that's a part of how we now create.
That's beautiful. It's also just, creation, you guys more creation
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
empowerment concept of that. Well, I know Carrie Ann, and you're gonna, I do a performance
Yes.
so I'm eager for that, and when I turned over to you for that, I want to thank you both for the work that you do. And for Martin Luther King Day this year, my son was asked what his favorite quote was, and he said the quote about darkest and light that you just referenced, because in dark times we all can be the light.
Yes.
And by being the light, he said, we help other people be a light too. So I would also ask all of you to be a light, to consider being a light in different ways through truth and power. Find ways to see each other, to hear each other, to connect with each other through our commonalities and our common commitment to the state of Michigan and serving the people who we love. So thank you all for the work that you do. Thank you both for the
Thank
work
you.
that you do.
Thank
Incredible
you.
work in the sky.